Salutations everyone, my name is Salutations and I am here to bring you another power scaling video. Now, I know I haven't posted in a while, but that's because I've been trying to focus on my streaming. By the way, I stream on twitch.tv/Salutations. Anyways, I was recently watching a good bit of power scaling content and came across this power scaler called Lonk's Takes. He briefly touched on Cell vs Dabura and said Dabura wins. By the way, his channel's in the description. And this got me thinking, does Dabura actually win? Well, today I'm going to be going over the scaling for both characters so we can see who is stronger and who's more likely to win. Specifically, I'll be using Perfect Cell after his self-destruction, so basically Super Perfect Cell, and Dabura while he's under Bobi's control. Now, let's get to Dabura's scaling. Now, Dabura is fairly straightforward to scale in an inverse sense. Dabura was able to contend with and arguably equal a Super Saiyan 2 adult Gohan. Now, it was stated multiple times that Gohan was weaker. Vegeta even stated that, and I quote, "He shouldn't still have this much trouble with him. Pathetic. Gohan was stronger when he was a kid." Vegeta is implying here that Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan should have been able to floor Dabura, or at bare minimum, Dabura would have been much too trouble for him. As well, there was a statement from Goku that Dabura should be around the same strength as Cell, but we'll get to that later in the Cell section. And now that we've got roughly Dabura's strength out of the way, let's talk about his abilities, and his main one we should talk about is his Stone Spit. When Dabura spits on someone or their clothes, whatever he spits on turns to stone. The only way to reverse this is to go Dabura himself. Now, this is an incredible ability and very useful, and let's say if Dabura were to spit on Cell, it could be game over for Cell if Cell is not strong enough to resist it. Now, we got the perfect segue for the Perfect Cell section. Now, Perfect Cell is a rather interesting character. Let's go over his raw power first. Cell's greatest feat is that he nearly overpowered Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. Now, I can already see people in the comments saying, Gohan was weaker because he couldn't use his arm. And to that I say, yeah, you're 100% correct. Gohan was weakened. For what Gohan even estimated, he could only use about half his own chi, which I find rather weird that only using an arm drops your chi by a whole half, but I digress. I also don't think that's a real good argument because of the fact that Cell was confident in fighting a full power Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and we know they can sense energy, so his strength should somewhat scale to Gohan's, but regardless of that fact, let's just not count that. And let's quickly talk about the Goku statement I mentioned earlier. When Goku was talking about Dabura, he mentioned that Dabura should be around the same strength level as Cell. For the sake of argument, we're talking about Super Perfect Cell because there are some people who believe that Dabura is only as strong as Perfect Cell, which is weird. Now, this would imply that Cell and Dabura are equal in terms of power, which would mean it comes down to skills and ability, right? So how does Cell fare in that department? Well, Cell has the combined fighting skill of all the Z fighters, including Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Piccolo, all the humans. As well, he's been shown to use all of their techniques. So it's fair to say Cell would have a significant skill advantage over Dabura, as Dabura was having difficulty dealing with Gohan, who is a much less skilled fighter than Cell. Cell also has an arsenal of abilities he can use against Dabura, and also a lot of people forget that Cell has Saiyan DNA, meaning he should be able to adapt in the midst of a battle. So if the battle goes on for too long, Cell might just end up becoming stronger than Dabura. And now that we've analyzed them both, how would this fight actually go down? Now, when it comes down to the fight, how would it actually go, and who would have the advantage in the fight? Well, I definitely think that in terms of advantage, it would go to Cell. While their powers are relatively equal, which means they come down to abilities and skill, Cell has a massive skill advantage compared to Dabura. Now, this is not saying that Dabura can't win, as he does have his Stone Spit, and if that gets on Cell's chest, somewhere where he can't cut off, I think it's game over for Cell. But that is also if he manages to hit his Stone Spit. As we saw with Gohan, you can block it, you can dodge it, especially if you're relative to, the other person. As well, Cell has his Saiyan adaptation, which means he could get stronger as the fight progresses. As well, Cell has such a wide variety of techniques, abilities, and also his regeneration. So if worse comes to worse, and he were to get a part of his body blown off, he can just regenerate it, and unlike Namekians, he gets stronger because of it. So in my humble opinion, I believe Cell is the more likely victor in this fight. But that is just my opinion, so tell me what you think in the comments section below. Hope to see you guys on the other side.